Salut tout le monde, bienvenue à cette émission spéciale des Alouettes de Montréal pour le repêchage 2024 de la LCF. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this special presentation of Montreal Alouettes Draft Show here on all the Montreal Alouettes platforms. Thank you for being live with us. The first round of the CFL draft is 7 minutes away. Le repêchage va commencer dans 7 minutes. Alors, on a plein d'invités spéciaux. J'aimerais commencer tout de suite avec le directeur général des Alouettes de Montréal, Monsieur Danny Machocha, assez gentil de joindre à nous. Danny, merci pour avoir pris le temps. 7 minutes avant le début du repêchage. Comment tu te sens en ce moment?
Je me sens très bien. Je pense qu'on est prêt, on est très prêt. On a travaillé tellement fort depuis les derniers mois. Alors, l'équipe au complet, les opérations football ont hâte au repêchage.
Qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire sur, évidemment, tu ne sais pas qui tu vas repêcher de 9e, mais quel genre de joueur espères-tu repêcher avec votre premier choix?
Joey, j'en parle depuis une période de temps. Je dirais que le meilleur joueur. On veut choisir le meilleur joueur. C'est sûr que c'est un QV que probablement la meilleure QV les 4 dernières années. Il y a beaucoup de profondeur à plusieurs positions. Alors, c'est sûr qu'on va être capable de choisir, de sélectionner un joueur qui va nous aider, que ce soit à court terme ou à long terme.
Le draft de la Ligue canadienne de football, c'est un peu intéressant, Danny, parce que je sais que tu l'as mentionné pendant ta dispo média la semaine passée, mais c'est pas toujours le meilleur joueur qui part en premier parce qu'il y a des gars qui signent des contrats dans la NFL, il y a des joueurs qui sont invités à des mini-camps. Comment est-ce que l'élément NFL est un facteur pour vous autres dans votre évaluation?
C'est un grand facteur. Je peux te dire qu'on passe beaucoup de temps les dernières journées de communiquer avec les équipes dans la Ligue nationale, avec les agents, des joueurs qui étaient sélectionnés, que ce soit à des mini-camps, que ce soit au camp principal où ils sont fait repêcher, pour savoir exactement c'est quoi leurs intentions envers ces joueurs-là.
Est-ce que tu serais à l'aise, si je te demande besoin pour votre équipe, entendre où vous voulez ajouter de la profondeur, pas juste en première ronde, mais dans ce repêchage-là, je sais que vous avez, sur papier, il y a 5 Canadiens partants en attaque, il y en a 2 en défensive. Comment est-ce que tu vois le repêchage?
Bien, c'est sûr que nous, on veut s'améliorer, que ce soit la ligne à l'attaque, receveur, demi-défensif, secondaire. C'est tous des endroits que pour nous sont très importants de voir qui est disponible. Puis si ce joueur-là est encore disponible et il se trouve sur notre tableau, on va le sélectionner.
Je veux juste te demander l'importance du repêchage canadien. Je sais que tout le monde aime les joueurs étoiles américains, mais moi, à mon avis, j'imagine que vous êtes du même avis que moi, mais sans la profondeur canadienne que vous avez accumulée, même l'an passé, vous ne gagnez pas de championnat. Là. C'est clair, aujourd'hui, c'est vraiment une journée importante. Est-ce que c'est la journée la plus importante d'année de la saison morte ou est-ce que c'est la période des agents libres, à ton avis?
Non, c'est la période qui est la plus importante. Il ne faut pas oublier non plus que les 45 joueurs qu'on habille, il y en a 21 qui sont des Canadiens, puis tu es obligé d'avoir 7 partants. Alors, c'est très important d'avoir un bon noyau, bon contenu canadien. Puis je dis assez souvent, si tu as un bon contenu canadien avec un bon carrière, mais tu te donnes des chances d'aller chercher des victoires puis peut-être même un championnat.
La QV de joueurs québécoises, Danny, cette année, est-ce que tu peux nous expliquer de quoi ça a l'air?
Très bonne, probablement la meilleure depuis les 4 dernières années. Il va y avoir des excellents joueurs qui vont gagner leur vie avec le football au Québec. Si l'occasion se présente, puis à talent égal, ils sont disponibles, c'est sûr qu'on veut garder ces effectifs chez nous.
Les Alouettes ont le 9e choix au total. Y a-t-il des discussions pour avancer, pour reculer? C'est quoi? Est-ce que tu peux juste me montrer c'est quoi en arrière-scène? Les DG, ils se parlent-tu aujourd'hui beaucoup ou c'est plus préparation pour le repêchage?
Bien, on se parle depuis les derniers jours. C'est sûr qu'aujourd'hui, on va se parler. On n'a rien de concret là, concernant les Alouettes, concernant des transactions, mais il reste encore quelques minutes, puis pendant la soirée, il peut en avoir. Mais il va y avoir des échanges de textos pendant la soirée, c'est sûr et certain.
Donc, tu n'annonces rien en ce moment. Là. Tu ne veux pas faire un gros splash sur mon live?
Pendant qu'on se parle, non, mais dans 2 minutes, ça peut changer assez vite.
Merci, Danny. Je te laisse travailler. Si jamais il y a quelque chose qui change, tu rembarqueras, OK?
Je t'appelle tout de suite.
Merci, Danny. Bonne
Merci.
chance ce soir. Bon, Danny Machocha, le directeur général des Alouettes de Montréal, qui est assez gentil pour prendre du temps 2 minutes avant le début du repêchage canadien de la Ligue canadienne de football. Donc, désolé un peu du retard. Je sais qu'on était supposé d'embarquer à 8h moins quart. On a une couple de petits problèmes techniques, mais on est là, on est prêt. Je vois beaucoup de commentaires. Si vous avez des questions, des commentaires, moi, je suis prêt à lire tous vos commentaires, positifs, négatifs. Donc, envoyez-moi vos questions. Si vous écoutez sur X ou sur Facebook ou sur YouTube, n'hésitez pas à poser vos questions ou de nous lâcher un commentaire ou deux. Donc, écoute, on a une soirée assez chargée. Je vous dirais que le plan ce soir, c'est vraiment d'écouter au moins une ronde ensemble. On va avoir plein d'invités spéciaux. On va parler à plusieurs joueurs des Alouettes qui ont été repêchés soit dans le repêchage mondial, soit dans le repêchage canadien. Ce soir, on va parler de leur expérience, on va parler de la saison qui s'en vient. Donc oui, on est prêt pour une soirée chargée. On va parler aussi, on va parler la personne qui s'occupe du repêchage, vraiment, c'est un effort de groupe, c'est un travail d'équipe, mais le directeur général adjoint, c'est P.Y. Lavergne et c'est lui qui prend en charge vraiment du repêchage. Évidemment, il y a Danny Machocha qui fait beaucoup de travail, Byron Archambault, Éric Deslauriers, Jean-Marc Edmé. Il y en a plusieurs qui sont là pour aider, mais c'est vraiment ça, c'est le gros projet de Pierre-Yves Lavergne. Donc, aussitôt que les Alouettes vont faire leur choix, leur sélection, pour le moment, c'est 9e au total. Pierre-Yves va se joindre à nous pour nous expliquer le raisonnement de ce choix. Donc, que ça soit un joueur de ligne en attaque, receveur, secondaire, peu importe, PY va se joindre à nous aussitôt que le choix est fait et après cela, on va essayer de connecter, établir une connexion avec le joueur en question. Donc, il y a plusieurs joueurs qui pourraient être repêchés ce soir, mais on va en parler. On va parler au premier choix. Donc, ça va prendre un peu de temps, évidemment. Donc, je pense qu'on devrait écouter une ronde, même peut-être 2 rondes ensemble. Donc, on peut écouter le repêchage. Moi, je l'ai sur mon écran ici à côté de moi. Donc, je vous donne des mises à jour tout au long de la soirée. Mais c'est ça. Donc, on est prêt. C'est sûr que c'est les Elks d'Edmonton qui ont le premier choix. Au total, le Rouge et Noir vont repêcher 2e et les Rough Riders de la Saskatchewan vont repêcher 3e. Donc, les Alouettes sont 9e au total. Je vous rappelle, les Alouettes n'ont pas de 2e choix cette année. Ils l'ont transigé aux Elks d'Edmonton en retour de Jesse Gibbon, qui est un joueur de ligne à l'attaque tout jeune. Il a été repêché 2e au total en 2019. Donc, ça va être intéressant. C'est sûr que les Alouettes n'ont pas de 2e choix, mais ils ont un joueur qui est toujours dans l'effectif pour ce choix. Donc, pas vraiment de choix ce soir, mais quand même un joueur. All right, let's go. Love my champs. Thank you, Manny. That's from Manny Paul Walker. Bonsoir, Joey. Bonsoir, Danny, l'élite du sport. Simon, j'aime ça, Simon. On s'en va pour une 2e Coupe Grey en 2 ans. J'aime ça. Continuez votre bon travail. Fier des boys. Ça, c'est Jean-Philippe. Bon repêchage à vous de la part de Pascal. Alexandre Prévost, Kevin Mittal, let's go. Alexandre Prévost qui écrit souvent dans nos lives d'après-match. C'est un grand partisan du Rouge et Or de Laval, évidemment. Chantal, salut Chantal, bon draft à toi aussi. Goals Go, Francis, Sacha, Goals. Let's go, merci Caroline. Pete Drugs, let's go, gardons Kaylin Saint-Cyr à Montréal serait électrique avec Marc-Antoine Decoy, évidemment. Kaylin Saint-Cyr, le demi-défensif de l'Université de Montréal, qui est disponible ce soir. Go House Go. Salut Diane. Salut Anne. Bon repêchage à toi aussi. Mario, let's go à Vancouver. Absolument, la Coupe Grey à Vancouver cette année. Stéphane. Salut Stéphane. Go House Go. Donc, si jamais vous avez des commentaires, des questions, c'est absolument ça. Vous pouvez les laisser dans les commentaires sur la plateforme dont vous écoutez. Et on va répondre à toutes vos questions. Donc, pour ce soir, on va regarder les choix qui sont ben, pas les choix, mais les choix au repêchage qu'ont les Alouettes. Donc, les Alouettes ont un choix de première ronde, 9e au total, de troisième ronde, ça c'est 29e au total. Quatrième ronde, ils vont repêcher 38e au total. Cinquième ronde, c'est le 47e choix. Sixième ronde, 56e choix. Septième ronde, 65e choix. Et huitième ronde, le dernier choix du repêchage, 74e overall. Je vous rappelle que cette année, c'est un peu différent. En fin de deuxième ronde, vous allez remarquer qu'il y a 11 choix en deuxième ronde au lieu de 9. Cette année, c'est la première année en 2023 où la Ligue canadienne de football donne ou remet 2 choix en fin de deuxième ronde pour les équipes qui ont joué le plus grand nombre de jeux avec des Canadiens. Cette année, c'est les Lions de la Colombie-Britannique et les Blue Bombers de Winnipeg. Donc, c'est ces deux équipes-là qui ont des choix supplémentaires. Let's go, House. À quelle heure ça débute? Alex, ça débute à 20h. On est les meilleurs, ça c'est Rock Packet. On est les meilleurs, Go House Go. Samuel, avec une question, tu penses qu'ils vont repêcher un joueur de quelle position? Quels sont nos plus grands besoins selon vous? C'est une bonne question, Samuel. J'allais justement embarquer là-dedans. Donc, écoute, moi je dirais que toujours ligne à l'attaque, c'est intéressant. Si tu regardes ce qu'ils ont fait en 2021, si je ne me trompe pas. Le premier choix de la deuxième ronde, ils ont choisi P.O. Lestage. P.O. Lestage, rapidement, oui, il avait signé dans la NFL, mais très rapidement, est devenu un des meilleurs joueurs à sa position. Donc, ligne à l'attaque, c'est sûr que si on regarde le breakdown de l'alignement partant des Alouettes, c'est sûr que ceux qui sont nouveaux à la Ligue canadienne de football, peut-être vous ne le savez pas, mais il faut avoir 7 partants qui sont canadiens avec l'attaque, entre l'attaque et la défense. Donc, si on regarde sur papier, évidemment, il y a un camp d'entraînement qui va avoir lieu, puis il y a des positions à gagner. Mais si on regarde comment les Alouettes ont fini la saison l'an passé, ils ont fini avec 3 joueurs de ligne à l'attaque canadiens et 2 receveurs canadiens aussi. Donc, ça veut dire que 5 joueurs partants canadiens sont venus en attaque. Deuxièmement, en défensive, l'an passé, les Alouettes ont comblé les partants canadiens avec Luol Uguak, qui est ailier défensif. Là, c'est sûr que Uguak est parti pour la NFL, mais pendant la période des agents libres, Danny Machocha a fait signer un contrat à Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, qui est un autre ailier défensif, un ancien des Stampeders, un ancien 3e choix au total. Donc, c'est pas mal sûr que c'est lui qui devrait remplacer Uguak. Donc, ça, c'est ton 6e partant canadien. Et, évidemment, ton maraudeur est canadien aussi. Marc-Antoine Dequoy est ton 7e partant canadien. Donc, si je regarde logiquement, j'ai 3 partants à la ligne à l'attaque. Un de mes partants, Christian Matt, est dans la fin trentaine. Donc, peut-être, et le 6e joueur de ligne à l'attaque, quand P.O. Lestage s'est blessé lors des séries éliminatoires, on a fait rentrer Philippe Gagnon, qui, comme Matt, est un excellent joueur, mais lui aussi il est dans la début trentaine. Donc, peut-être qu'on veut se rajeunir pour les années qui s'en viennent. Donc, moi, je pense ligne à l'attaque, ça pourrait être très bon. Ça devrait être une priorité. Mais il n'y a pas beaucoup d'équipes qui ont 2 receveurs partants canadiens. Donc, les receveurs partants, ça prend de la profondeur là aussi. Parce qu'en ce moment, c'est Keon Julian Grant et Tyson Philpott. Donc, si un de ces deux-là se blesse, c'est sûr qu'on a Régis Sibassou et on a Shedler Furvius qui a été repêché lors de la 5e ronde l'an passé. Il a fait un gros impact sur les unités spéciales en deuxième mi-temps et c'est un des joueurs qui va joindre à nous. Donc, oui, on a un peu de profondeur. lors à ce poste-là. Mais c'est possible qu'on aille chercher un peu plus de profondeur. Donc, tu sais, moi, je peux voir ligne à l'attaque, je peux voir poste de receveur, ça serait intéressant aussi. Derrière Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund, ça va être Brock Goenlock, qui a été un choix de 8e ronde il y a une couple d'années, et Brock Goenlock va joindre à nous aussi un peu plus tard. Donc, Brock est là. Donc, Brock pourrait seconder Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund, mais encore une fois, on pourrait aller chercher de la profondeur à ce poste-là d'ailier défensif. Et je sais que Marc-Antoine Dequoy est une machine, mais en cas de blessure, ça prendrait quand même un autre maraudeur qui pourrait seconder Marc-Antoine Dequoy. C'est sûr que Marc-Antoine est le meilleur maraudeur de la Ligue, mais c'est sûr que ça prend un maraudeur de qualité. Zach Lindley a pris sa retraite cet hiver. Et on a Tyson Otis Copeland, un ancien des Carabins qui a été repêché en 2022, si je ne me trompe pas, en 4e ronde, qui a très bien joué sur les unités spéciales. C'est un grand bonhomme, un homme fort qui est capable de seconder de quoi, mais ça prendrait toujours un autre maraudeur pour aider à cette position-là. Donc, tu sais, tu regardes où les Alouettes vont repêcher et tu regardes c'est qui les partants en attaque. Et pour moi, ça a toujours été ma logique, tu sais, de voir où est-ce que j'ai le plus de Canadiens, où est-ce que j'ai besoin de la profondeur. Mais pour répondre à ta question, Samuel, je sais que c'est une longue réponse, mais tu sais, est-ce que il n'y a aucune position qui me surprendrait parce qu'on l'a entendu, Danny Machocha l'a mentionné. Mais oui, tu prends le meilleur joueur disponible, mais il y a des besoins à combler aussi. All right. We're going to switch on to English for just a second. Just keep in mind, I want to bring everybody up to date. We said a lot in French there. The majority of our interviews with players are going to be in English. So if you're unilingual Anglophone, don't worry. There's going to be a lot of English content over the course of the next hour plus when the Alouettes make their selection. I think the Alouettes will probably make their pick around 9 o'clock. What we're looking at here is we'll go through the picks really quickly. The Alouettes have the 9th overall pick. They have no second-round pick this year because they traded it to Edmonton for offensive lineman Jesse Gibbon, who's still on the roster. But they do have a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th. So they have a pick in every round except the second round. Danny Machocha mentioned to us in French, if you didn't catch it, that the general managers have been talking for the better part of the last week. As of right now, nothing's cooking. But at the same time, they do have a big time possibility to make a trade if they want to move up, if they want to move back, if they want to add a second round pick. There's a bunch of things that they can do. Also, on the Danny Machocha front, he did mention that the NFL draft plays a huge factor in what the Alouettes do in this draft, because there are players that were selected by NFL teams this past weekend or signed to NFL free agent contracts after this. So, it's one of those things where, the best players in the CFL draft, they don't always go first overall. Sometimes they fall because they're not going to be in CFL camps in May. It's going to take a little bit of time because they're either at a mini camp or they're going to main training camp with NFL teams. So that it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. So the question from Samuel was, where can you see the Alouettes? What position can you see the Alouettes picking? What are the biggest needs? Look, we broke down the lineup a little bit. You start 3 Canadian offensive linemen along the interior. You start 2 Canadian receivers, and actually, Keon Julian Grant will be joining us any moment now. Keon was a very big draft pick, obviously an important draft pick for the Alouettes in 2019, I believe it was, in the second round. And Keon is one of those 2 Canadian starters that with Tyson Philpott that will be a big part of what this team does going forward. So Keon Julian Grant will join us in just a couple of minutes. So I mean, where do I see the Alouettes selecting? I mean, that's the big thing. We'll find out in just a second, But offensive line, wide receiver, They have a Canadian safety. They have a bunch of they have a defensive end as well. Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, who's replacing Luol Ugwak. So it could go any one of those positions. I think that's where you want to add the most depth. All right, the first pick is in. The Edmonton Elks have selected linebacker Joel Dublanko from the University of Cincinnati. Dublanko went to a couple of NFL training camps. Was with the Seattle Seahawks. Donc, Joel Dublanko, le secondaire et le premier choix qui s'en va aux Elks d'Edmonton. C'est un ancien de la NFL. Et je ne sais pas si vous vous souvenez de Curtis Dublanko, un ancien secondaire canadien qui a été repêché par les Alouettes dans le 2011, 12, 13, dans ce coin-là. Il a joué pour Edmonton et Montréal. Je pense qu'ils sont famille. Je ne sais pas si c'est des cousins, mais c'est quand même deux. C'est deux de la même famille et ils sont parodés. Là. Il est dans la NFL. Donc, Joel Dublanko s'en va à Edmonton. Encore une fois, on va avoir plein d'entrevues en français, mais il y a des joueurs qui sont anglophones, donc on va passer en anglais, mais on va avoir plein d'éléments. Je vais parler en français beaucoup, je vous promets. So there's going to be a lot of English, a lot of French. But let's get to our first guest. I think he's a star receiver for the Montreal Alouettes, second round pick in 2019, Mr. Keon Julian Grant. Keon, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How you been?
I'm doing well. I'll be a whole lot better once you guys are around the building and the season starts. Because
I can't wait. What'd you say, sorry?
It was a long off season. I mean, it's always a long off season in the CFL.
Definitely a long one.
Yeah. So listen, man, first of all, I know you didn't play in the Grey Cup game. You had an injury. You had a couple injuries last year. You suffered one in Ottawa at the end of September. You had the one at home against Calgary. I mean, you made me look like a genius because I said my bold prediction was that you were going to win the most outstanding Canadian last year. You were top 5 in receiving when you went down. I'm just curious, how you feeling? How is the rehab gone? And are you going to be 100% for training camp?
Oh, yeah, I'm 100% right now. Like, when they said I could have played, like, if the Grey Cup was a week after, I'm like, damn. But
okay, you can play.
Yeah, rehabs went really well. No complaints. Like, I've just been really grinding this offseason. I'm just excited to have a full year to play and show what I could do as opposed to just half the year.
Yeah.
It was a little sample last year.
I mean, you were lighting it up. I know you had a big game in Hamilton early on in the year. You were really you're hitting your stride. I mean, you're still a young player, but I really thought that you took a step to superstardom, and I have no doubt that. But now I used up my bold prediction on you last year, so now I don't know. I got to find something else. I got to find another bold prediction for you.
Gotta keep brainstorming.
I would have been right, yeah. Before we get into the season that's coming up, I'm just curious, like, draft night 2019, you're picked in the second round. The Owls had no first round pick. I mean, you were the big time guy for Montreal in that draft class. I'm just curious, like, what was draft night for you? What were you feeling going into this process? Do you remember anything? Like, did you have an inkling that it would be Montreal? Like, what was that night like for you?
I honestly, like, based off how my interviews went, like, I had no idea where I was gonna go. But I was just also like, but like, so that night, we had like all of my family rented out like a restaurant, and we were just hanging out, just enjoying each other's company. And then it was just a lot of like anxiousness of when I would get picked, and if I would get picked, because at the end of the day, you never know, right?
You didn't think you were gonna get picked?
No, but like when you
right.
like,
right.
But so overall, it was just great to be with my family, and then I got the call. I remember I was super excited. Yeah, the rest is history. Haven't left yet, so
yeah, I know. Yeah,
been here ever since.
Did you? I'm curious. Like, did you growing up? I know, like your dad played in the CFL. Like, your dad played for the Alouettes a little bit.
Yeah, he did for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit. I'm curious, like, how closely did you follow the CFL? Like, did you have any, like, do you have players that you looked up to, favorite guys outside of your dad? Like, was there guys that you tried to emulate? Like,
so. Tyson always gets at me about this, but growing up, I was never into football like that. I was always
really?
Like I was really a basketball first type of guy. And then like high school came, and my dad and my uncle were like, "Okay, you're gonna have to just try it out." I'm like, ah, whatever, man. And then, so then, like, I didn't really start following the CFL really until like end of high school, if that. I wouldn't even consider following like university really, probably. But players I looked up to like in high school was probably like my favorite player ever is Devin Hester.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
You
got wheels too, and did you? I mean, you must have returned quite a bit at St. FX, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was like the main returner there too.
Right.
I think there's at one point where I had like more return yards than receiving yards for like 1 year.
Yeah, that's funny. But I don't know. I think I've seen you return a couple times in practice, but you haven't returned in a game in the pros, have you?
No, not punt return. Yeah, kick return where I was like the off returner, and then there's like a squib kick or something like that. But like I haven't really got to spin, you know.
You want me to go talk to Byron real quick?
I mean, like, Byron already knows. Like now, it's like I could do it still, but like time has passed. I think.
Yeah, I think you might be needed on offense. So I'm curious, man. Like, just what did you like? What was your experience like last year? You know, in the second half of the year, you came back from injury at the beginning of that win streak. When you guys took off and won 8 in a row. But I'm curious, like, what are the emotions you're feeling as the season went on? When did you get a good vibe? Like, when did you think to yourself, like, shoot, like these guys might win the whole thing. Like, we might win the whole thing. Like, was there a moment that kind of clicked for you?
I would say there was no moment that really just clicked. I always felt like we were the best team, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So I always like every game I think we're gonna win. And then like once I remember Coach Moss, I don't remember like the exact like numbers, but like he was breaking it down where it was like all like lined up for us to win the Grey Cup. Like we won 8 games in a row, and then like he was talking about like his steps. I forget how many steps there was like on his way and whatnot. So that like that meeting, everyone, I feel like as much as we already bought in, it was just like, damn, like it's just like really lined up for us.
Yeah, no, I mean it was magical to just be around Keon, because like it just felt, I don't know if you got this feeling, but it just at some point it just felt like Team of Destiny. Like it really felt like you're unstoppable, honestly.
I got like I literally just got chills thinking about it. But like when I was on the sideline, I remember it was me and Reggie, and it was like as you said, like just destiny. Like there's every time like, hey, look, I'm like I'll tap like Ruffin or something. I'm like, we're gonna get a pick, and then we get a pick. I'm like, that's weird. And then like we just kept getting like it was like that Toronto game. I'm like, yeah, we're just dominating.
Yeah. Speaking of dominating that Toronto game, I think we have Mr. Kebionento here in the comments. 23 step, no plateaus. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
23 step, no. Thank you, Kebion.
Appreciate that.
He was star player in the Grey. I mean, had a pick in the Grey Cup, had a forced fumble in the Grey Cup, had a pick 6 in the East Final. I mean, Kebionento, you were a star player. You emerged as a star player, but I think Kebionento emerged as a star player too.
For sure he did. For sure.
All right, talk to me about this upcoming season. If we look at it on paper, I think it's going to be you. It's going to be Tyson Philpott. I know you guys are close. You referenced them already. You guys have, do you guys make friendly competition, like these bets, like who's going to have more yards or who will have more touchdowns or anything like that? You guys
we
use
don't
that to motivate yourselves? I
could definitely have a face-on call with them later. We can talk some of that. we don't have those conversations. We just talk about us both going crazy and like the whole receiving core going crazy. Because I feel like I want to really build off of what I showed last year. Left a lot on the table. I didn't even score, but like,
Did you not score last year?
No, I didn't. I scored in the preseason. I scored in the preseason, but I was getting yards.
Yeah, you got a lot of yards. You and Mac were tearing it up in those first 5 years. It was ridiculous. Who's faster? You or Philpott?
Me. I'm taking me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
10 yards?
10 yards. It's closer. I'll say I'm always picking me regardless, but I'll say that's closer.
40 yards?
Me.
The whole length of the field, you?
Me.
Okay.
Top
I think Philpott might have something to say about that.
For sure he will.
He wouldn't be him if it wasn't. All right. We've got an injury question. You tell me if you're comfortable answering this. It's a pretty good question from Herv, and we'll let you go after this, Keon, because we really appreciate the time.
Am I coming up on the screen? Sorry.
Yeah, you're there. Yeah, I know you got a call, but I see you. You're good.
Okay, cool.
So Herv says to Keon, in the home game versus Winnipeg, I think it was Calgary. It looks like you hyperextended your knee badly and you kept playing like it never happened. Did you hurt yourself or it just looked bad and your ligaments are made of titanium? Looking forward to this new season. Thank you both. Was that the Winnipeg game he was talking about?
Yeah,
you
I
tripped
caught
up
a
at
post
the end,
and
right?
then so basically it was so weird. But like when you're running like at when you're like full sprint, I forget who it was. I think it was Darby. He ran behind me and he hit my back leg. So then it pushed my front leg forward and it just locked in place. But it just looked worse and I got scared because of how it felt. And I just jumped up to protect myself so I didn't have all my weight on it. But yeah, shout out my trainers. shout out Messam.
It's funny, like, now that Herv mentioned, it's a good point because I've forgotten about that. I was thinking he was talking about the Calgary game where you got hurt, but I remember that. I remember seeing that in Winnipeg. It was on a long.
Yeah, I caught a post, and then I was running like towards the far side on the left, and then I got clipped. My back leg got clipped, and it shot forward and made me trip.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then I felt it lock, and then like I'm like, okay, if I keep it like this, I'm gonna be hurt. So I just jumped up kind of to prevent it. But
I remember that now. I thought to myself, for sure that's gonna be a long injury. And then you played the next week, and I was like, oh shoot, like this guy is just a beast, a tank. But Keon, thanks for doing this, man. We really look forward to seeing you step in on the field this year. And I guess I'm a couple weeks away from seeing you. So all the best, man. Enjoy the rest of your off season, and we'll catch you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, that's Keon Julian Grant of the Montreal Alouettes. Donc, le deuxième choix au total par le Rouge et Noir a été sélectionné. Ils ont pris le receveur canadien Nick Mardner, qui a joué à plusieurs universités, mais il a joué à Auburn. Il est 6 pieds 6, plus de 200 livres. Donc, Nick Mardner, le receveur de passe, qui a une invitation à un mini-camp recrue avec les Giants du New York, a été sélectionné par le Rouge et Noir. All right, it's time for our next guest who was drafted earlier today by the Montreal Alouettes. He's in the 9th overall pick of the global draft. He's Mr. Sam Clark. Sam, what's going on, man?
G'day, how are you? I'm doing really well, thank you.
Yeah, congrats on being the 9th pick. I know just talking to the front office after the global draft, they were really, really excited to have you. I'm just curious, like, did you follow along at all? Did you just get the call from the front office, and is that how you found out? Like, what was your day like?
Pretty normal day. I knew it was the draft was happening, and so I just finished working out, and I was about to head off to work, and so I just had the updates going on my phone, and it went a lot quicker than I thought. And then it got close to Montreal's pick, and I had spoke with Coach Quick a little bit a couple of weeks back, and so then when I got the call from the Montreal area code, I was pretty excited. I was very excited, very happy. Yeah.
So, depending on how you look at it, I have an accent or you have an accent. One of us two has an accent. Can you just tell our fans where it is you're from, how you started playing football? And I'll let you take it from there, and I'll ask you some questions based on what you tell me.
Yeah. It's a funny perspective because I think I guess we all have accents.
I guess so.
Depends how you look at it. So I'm from Sydney, Australia. So that's on like the southeast coast of Australia. I grew up just playing all sorts of sports. And then I got, into my late teens, early adulthood, I got pretty locked in playing Australian rules football and did that for a little bit until through Pro Kick Australia, I wanted to give punting a go. So they helped me to get a school. They got me a scholarship at California State University, Sacramento State, where I played there for 3 years. And then I grad transferred to James Madison University, and I played there for 1 year.
Yeah. So where are you at right now? Are you in Australia right now? Are you in the States?
I'm in the States. So I'm still in Harrisonburg, Virginia, where James Madison is. So I'm just finishing up my degree. So I graduate on. I finish school at the end of this week, and then next week I head up to training camp.
Awesome. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we look forward to having you. Did you mention Pro Kick Australia? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
So that's where, I mean, Joseph Zima came through there. A lot of the guys come through there. I'm
Exactly.
curious, did you and Joe ever, have you met Joe Zima before? Have you guys connected before?
Yeah, we actually have. I think, I'd say Joey's a pretty good friend of mine. I mean, we're not super close. We haven't spent a bunch of time together. He did Pro Kick before me, so he was in the program before I was, but he came back and trained with Nathan and John, who were the Pro Kick coaches while I was still going through the program. And so I was able to catch up and pick his brain at that time. And then also just through this process, him and I have messaged a little bit, and he's just been an amazing resource and a really good bloke.
So, I mean, usually when you guys come in, you got a bunch of fans, by the way, they're posting a couple of them, but there's a bunch of fans that are welcoming you to the team, into the city.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
People really excited about that. People really excited to watch you kick. But, when a new guy comes in, we'll always ask, what kind of player are you? Like, what kind of punter are you? Well, who would you compare yourself to?
I think comparisons are hard in the punting world. I think I would say there's probably two types of punters, where you've got guys that have really big legs, and then, guys that are maybe a bit more accurate. So I think I don't have the biggest leg in terms of, smacking the ball a long way. But I think in terms of my accuracy, making the returner work hard, making sure I put the ball in the right position for our guys to go and get it and go and get the returner, I should say. I'd say that's sort of my wheelhouse, and that's where I excel. I would say that Joey is a pretty similar punter in that sense, where super accurate, very good at executing the goal of the the special teams play.
I'm curious, your top highlight in your mind from your college career. Do you have a moment, that it could have been a great punt, or it could have been, I don't know if you forced a fumble. I'll tell you a funny story about Joe Zima from last year. I don't know if you've seen the footage of what happened last year, but I'll let you go first, and I'll tell you what's up.
Yeah, so I'm very much a proponent that really good special teams can be pretty boring at times. It's execute your job and get off the field. So I never ran a fake, never anything like that, but definitely a couple of punts down on the 1 yard line through college. And I think the biggest highlight for me was my last two punts in college. We were playing Coastal Carolina, and I didn't know if I was going to get an opportunity at the next level. So I didn't, so it might be my last time getting to punt a ball. And so I had back-to-back punts down on the 1 yard line to finish off my college career, which was a real highlight. But we were smoking them. It was like 47-7. So it didn't really have a huge bearing on the landscape of the game, but it was still a good personal highlight.
Yeah, Joe Zima is, to me, I mean, the development in Joe. I mean, I think he's the best punter in the league. But there was a play that we could have tried, a million times, and it wouldn't have come up that way. We were in Ottawa last year, and the returner, I think it was off a missed field goal, because Joe's also the holder.
Yeah, so.
And the returner brought it, into Montreal territory up the left side. Joe got blocked, fell on his back, but his legs came up. The returner passed by. The spike hit the ball pops up. One of our players, our tight end, recovers the ball, gets out of bounds, and it's our. I mean, I know Joe, I think, ran a fake as well early on in his career, but I mean, everything came up Joe Zima last year. I mean, the guy's an unreal player, unreal punter, but that was hilarious.
Yeah, no, I think I actually have seen some footage of that, keeping up with Joey last year, because he is a really great bloke, and he's just from the time I've spent with him, he's been really good. But he is one of the best kickers of a football I've ever seen, in terms of the hang time, the distance, but also the accuracy, but just how pretty his ball looks in the air. So I definitely agree that he is one of the best punters I've ever come across. So it will be really exciting to be able to go into camp and compete with him, but also just learn from him, and just put my best foot forward in that sense.
Sam, I'm curious, what do you know about the CFL, the city of Montreal? Have you ever been here? I'm just curious what you know about everything.
I've never been to Canada, never been to Montreal. Very, very excited to, immerse myself in the culture. I knew that it was I suppose, the French Quarter. I don't know if that's like the correct terminology, but I didn't really, I think, grasp how French it was until today when, I started looking at the social media and stuff a little bit more, and I was like, oh, okay, it's very much French and English together. So that was interesting, but I'm just really excited to learn. In terms of the CFL, I've followed the CFL for quite some time because I think understanding like where I was as a college punter and understanding that I maybe didn't have that leg talent to how do I say this? Like that wow factor in terms of when I punt, it's very much just like get on, do my job and get off. But I always did see the CFL as maybe a potential outlet if I could really perform. And so just with that in mind, I definitely did sort of learn some of the rules pretty early, but I still definitely have a bit of a ways to go with that. So that's sort of what my homework is for the next week. Just keep punting, finish up school, but just hunker down on some of these rules, I suppose.
Hey, Sam, we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, man. Look forward to watching you kick in camp. All the best in that final week of school, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks out here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. I feel really, really welcomed, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We tried to do a collab post with you on Instagram. We couldn't find your Instagram, man.
Oh, it's just Sam by Sam Clark. So you look me up, give me a follow. I'm pretty private, low key on social media, but I never really developed a big following, so I sort of just stayed pretty low key. But I'm out there.
So what's your handle, just so the Alouettes fans can find you as well?
Yeah, it's just Sam. So my first name and then by Sam Clark, sort of like a fragrance, like yeah, that's sort of what I went with. So
I like it.
Yeah.
You'll see, there's a couple of guys in this locker room that could use some good fragrance. You're about to find that out.
Yeah, I think I'll find that out pretty quickly.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All the best.
Yes, sir. You too. All right, Sam Clark, the first round pick of the Montreal Alouettes in today's global draft. Sam a été c'est un botteur comme Josema. C'est le premier choix, 9e au total des Alouettes aujourd'hui dans le repêchage mondial. Donc, un autre Australien comme Josema. OK. Je sais que ça a été marqué les Rough Riders de la Saskatchewan ont repêché Kyle Hergel, le joueur de ligne à l'attaque de Boston College. Lui qui a signé, c'est peut-être le meilleur joueur du repêchage, le meilleur espoir, mais il a signé un contrat avec les Saints de la Nouvelle-Orléans. C'est un contrat qui, on ne sait pas les détails, on ne sait pas combien d'argent qu'il y a eu en boni, mais c'est clair que les Rough Riders sont prêts à prendre le risque. All right, fast moving, fast pace. We're going to our next guest here. He's a former 8th round pick out of University of Manitoba of these Montreal Alouettes. He's still here. He's been a really productive player. He's Mr. Brock Gowanlock. Brock, what's going on, big fella?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm living the dream. I'm doing better now that I'm talking to you. What are you up to? Are you still in Montreal? I know did you move here all off season? I know I saw you a lot.
Yeah, so I'm living in Montreal, but I just came back to Winnipeg to drop my dog off at the girlfriend's house here.
Nice. All right, awesome. So, we'll talk about the upcoming season, but you're one of those guys I absolutely want to have on because your great story. Picked in the 8th round of the CFL draft. You went back to school. You came back the year after, and I mean, you're just a dog on special teams. I remember you have big preseason on defense as well. But just, talk to me about your draft day experience. Did you have any expectation? Did you think you were going to be drafted earlier? What was the feeling like when you were drafted in the 8th round? I'm sure it helped with that chip on your shoulder. But just tell me about your draft day experience and what that was like for you.
Yeah, man. So my draft experience is pretty unique because we were getting right into the heat of COVID there. Right. So we were all on crazy lockdown and everything like that. We're all doing our Zooms, everything was kind of crazy. So how it worked out for me is I was in Winnipeg at the time, but my buddy in BC invited me to head back to BC to live in his house because he's got a bigger house with the home gym and everything like that. They took care of me and got me ready there. But I was fortunate enough to get my family over for the draft day because we were kind of going through lockdowns and everything like that. So it was hard, but we got them over from the island. And yeah, man, honestly, I didn't have too much expectation going in the draft. I mean, I definitely expected to get drafted at some point. And honestly, I had a hankering that it was going to be Montreal. I had good interviews and stuff like that. So kind of every Montreal pick that was coming up, I was getting my hopes up. And at the end of it, man, I was just so thankful, get the call from Kari, get the call. And just, I was just excited, man. You're just happy. You're excited to get to camp, excited to get that pro shot. So, yeah.
So what went well with the interviews? I know it was a different, no, it was this front office, but I'm curious. I know it's a different head coach, but why did you have a good feeling? And could you take us into those interviews? Like, I know some people say they get weird questions thrown at them, or are the CFL interviews weird? Or they, how are they?
Honestly, no, mine was pretty straightforward, man. They just kind of asked me just routine questions, like kind of stuff that I knew about the city of Montreal, kind of stuff that I knew about the organization in previous years. And they're all pretty positive, man. Like, they ask you a couple questions like, hey, is there anything that could come up if we drafted you, anything that could kind of tarnish our organization? And obviously the answer to that's no, right? So, so honestly, mine was pretty routine. I just had a feeling with Montreal, and my agent kind of hinted towards Montreal as well. And I was just like, Montreal is like an awesome city. You've heard so many things, so maybe I was hoping to go there. So that kind of had my inkling going on there. But yeah.
Your mentality. I mean, just what's your mindset on special teams? Because I'm going to be nice to you. I'm not going to compliment you too often away from the camera. We're buddies. I'm messing with you, but you're a really good dude. But when you step between those white lines, man, like you're a different beast. You're a different cat when you get on the field. Like that special teams, you really set the tone there. You're a big part of what the Alouettes do on special teams. I'm curious, like, what's the mindset? Have you ever been one of have you always been that kind of guy who just take pride in special teams? How much special teams did you play at Manitoba? Like, what's just the mindset?
Yeah. So like in Manitoba, no, I didn't play that much special teams. I just played punt. And honestly, like the thing that I liked about punt was just like go see ball, get ball, you know what I mean? Sprint down there and try to put a hit on somebody. But honestly, the mentality of special teams is just work, man. Like, because you're not going to be like crazy on the statistics. You're not going to be crazy in the spotlight or anything like that. But as soon as that film room comes on, they see that work ethic, that working to get blocks, working to get the right angles, working to stay in your lane, working to force the ball carrier into somebody else's tackle, being there to kind of make the play when it comes to you. So you kind of just have to take pride in that work ethic, because man, those are the longest reps in all of the CFL. You know what I mean? Like some of those punt reps, some of those kickoff reps, like you're sprinting downfield, changing direction, holding onto a block as long as you can, fighting through blocks. It's just work, man. That's all that it is. And if you can take pride in your work ethic, you're going to be able to excel at that level, right?
Yeah. We've got comments coming in. Hey, Brock. We also have Brock is a beast. Diamond in the. You stop getting your family to comment on these.
That's not my family.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. Brock is a beast, and he is a diamond in the rough. The heck of an 8th round pick, let me tell you. Did you have what was your first like welcome to the pros moment? Like, what was the time where you really got blown up good? I don't remember a time where you got blown up good, but I'm sure it's happened.
Yeah, so honestly, my first 2 welcome to the moments were like welcome to the CFL was in training camp in 2021. So I have a special teams one and I have a defense one. So
all right.
Honestly, in special teams and U sports, like in punt and stuff, it was I don't want to say it's easy, but you're not going against guys who are just prided only on special teams and their blocking ability. So I remember we had like a 50% rep the coach announced, and like 50% reps aren't 50% reps at at practice and stuff like that. Everybody's looking to crank it up a little bit. So Alex Gagne, obviously our special teams captain Quebec there, he gets his hands on me, man, and I could just not get off of him no matter what. I'm fighting to get off, and now suddenly I start getting mad. I'm like, that's a 50%, blah blah blah, and he's just laughing in my face, and so that was a pretty good one. I'm like, okay, like I got to really work these special teams. These guys, man, they're good. They're strong. They're good. And then the other one was the defensive rep there was going against Tony Washington. So playing obviously in U sports as well, you don't really go up against too many guys as big as Tony Washington. And man, he short set me and he punched me like I've never been hit before. I flew out of the camera. I'm like, okay, I got to be ready for these big boys. But yeah, those were the 2 real ones that kind of stick out in my mind there.
Okay, but is it worse for that to happen to you like in the moment, or is it worse when you got to turn on the film in front of everybody the next day and that pops up on film? Which one's more embarrassing?
Yeah, man, it's tough to say. Honestly, the thing like that motivates you all day is that there is the eye in the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to look bad in front of all your peers and stuff like that. So I guess when the film room comes around, but you know, they're all lessons at the end of the day. You can't have your ego in the way. Like you got to take every loss as a lesson and learn how you can kind of grow from it, and then just make sure that's not on film again tomorrow or the next day. You know?
All right. On the flip side, though, what was that moment where you were like, okay, I can play here. Like I made this play. Like did you have a moment or a couple moments where you like really gained some confidence from them?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like honestly, just getting that first game under the belt, like, you know, it was a lot of nerves because you get into that preseason game, and obviously, like, I had a pretty good game in the preseason. I had 3 sacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, you had a crazy. Didn't you have a forced fumble too? And it was a home preseason game, right?
Yeah, fumble recovery. Tyrell Richards like absolutely decleated the quarterback, and the ball just flew in my hands. Like, all right, I'll take it, buddy. Thank you. But yeah, honestly, so you know, even getting into that preseason, you have your nerves and everything like that, but you're locked in, and then it's like, okay, like it's the real season now. You know what I mean? Like this is, you know, every single game counts, but once you get to that regular season and you get your feet underneath you and you're like, all right, like, yeah, like I'm here for a reason. You know, these coaches, you know, I got drafted in the 8th round, but you know, I've proven myself here. I deserve to be here, and you just kind of got to run with it like that.
Yeah, man. Anybody that you know coming out this year? I'm sure you have some guys who maybe when you were a senior, you had some guys that you played with early on. Is there anybody you're keeping an eye on when they get drafted here?
Yeah, for sure. So I played with AK Kasama, Abdul Kareem out of
the receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Out of Manitoba, first team All-Canadian. That guy's a great kid, man. I'm really hoping the best for him. And obviously he's had 2 great years, back-to-back All-Canadian years. So really
he's a little dude. He's a
little dude, man, but he's a dog. Like, you know, he's from Sierra Leone, and man, he's got a great story. He's a great leader. I can't wait for him to get his opportunity. Then there's 2 other guys coming out of Manitoba, Nick Conway and Stephen Adamopoulos. 2 guys, DBs. They played with me. I think I played with both of them for 2 years as well. So hoping the best for them and hoping they get a shot somewhere too.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for doing this, man. We appreciate the time, and we'll see. I guess we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy. Thank you.
All right, man. That's Mark Gowanlock. Nice enough to join us here on this Montreal Alouettes special on the draft. There are a lot of people on this live tonight. All right, we'll get Benjamin Labrosse. I know you guys see it there. Un premier Québécois qui a été repêché ce soir, un ancien de l'Université de Syracuse qui a fini sa carrière universitaire à McGill et le 4e choix au repêchage. Il s'en va à Calgary. Les Argonauts de Toronto vont sélectionner ici bientôt. Do we get to the Argonauts pick? Are we getting to the Argonauts pick? Oui, we'll get to Shedler Fervius in just a second, mais l'annonce du choix des Argos. Les Argos ont sélectionné Kevin Mittal, le receveur de l'Université Laval. Donc, 2 Québécois de suite qui partent en première ronde. C'est le demi-défensif Benjamin Labrosse de McGill qui s'en va à Calgary et le receveur de passe de l'Université de Laval, Kevin Mittal, qui s'en va à Toronto. All right. Let's get to our next guest. He was the 5th round pick in the 2023 draft for the Montreal Alouettes last year, and he's repping, look at that, repping the Alouettes t-shirt, repping the merch. Shedler Fervius. Shed, what's going on, man?
Not much, Joey. How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. Living the dream. Training camp just a couple weeks away, so I can't wait. I'm curious, what's your off season been like?
It's been pretty hectic. I've been pushing myself, you know, getting ready for year 2, big year coming up. So, you know, I've been putting all the things that I've learned in the past year to practice, and, you know, just taking it one day at a time.
All right. What did you learn from last year? Because I know, you know, you waited patiently on PR for a while, and then when you got activated in the second half of the year, like I knew you were a good player, but then you popped off the page on special teams right away. I was like, oh, okay, Shedler's not messing around. Like this guy brings it. This guy's a dog on special teams. I'm curious, what was year 1 like for you, where you start on PR and then you're dressed for the championship game and you win the championship game in year 1?
Yeah. Year 1 was by far the biggest learning experience in my football career. I've never been in a position where, you know, I haven't played for so long. So, I took it one day at a time. You know, it was frustrating at some times, but you know, I always stuck to the plan, and just, you know, followed the guys ahead of me, like Austin Mack, who's with Atlanta right now. Other guys like Kaon, Tyson, just guys, you know, to see how they work, move as professionals, you know. So
Yeah.
see what I could do and what I could add to my game and my you know, my professional career, you know, as it starts.
I'm curious, like I saw you mention Austin Mack there, and I spoke to Tyler Sneed on the podcast a few weeks ago. He was telling me that you, and I saw it on Instagram as well, that you, Sneed, and Mack, I'm trying to remember if somebody else was there, but you went to meet Austin Mack in Florida. You guys all trained together. What was that like?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Sneed told me he was like down and out for a couple days after that workout. He said it was an intense workout.
Yeah, the workouts were no joke. The heat definitely adds to the intensity of the workouts. So not being too ready for that, you know, it's still a little cold up here in Hamilton. But it was fun. It was a great learning experience. It was nice to see how Mac goes about his off season, and you know, I see where the success, you know, and how, you know, the past season he had and where it comes from. So it was great. It was fun. And yeah, it was my body was definitely going through it after.
I know you were probably like just focused on yourself in training camp last year, but how quick could you tell that Mac was gonna be a dude?
Pretty early. We one of the few first few days of training camp, I actually sat with him by ourselves. And we kind of talked about, you know, where we came from, got to know each other. And, you know, he told me, he's like, they're not ready for what I'm about to do out here. And I was like, really? I was like, okay. And he just showed up in practice and just making play after play after play. I was like, yeah. Even my roommates, Tyler and JJ, we all looked at each other like, yeah, Mac is the real deal. So yeah, he from the first few days of training camp, he just knew. He popped up on the page.
Yeah, I'll never forget the catch over the back of a DB. I think it was Ruffin, and Ruffin's a pretty good cover guy. But in the scrimmage, Mac, I was like 81. I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy can play. He made a touchdown catch. It was absolutely sick. I'm curious, like if we go back, it's about 365 days, I guess. But if we go back 365 days ago, you know, your 5th round pick. What were your expectations going into the draft? Did you have talks with Montreal? Like, what do you remember about a year ago tonight?
So yeah, sitting in my living room, looking at my computer. I was a little bit worried, stressed, you know, because of my situation, but I believed in God. Montreal was the last team to interview me. Actually, so I got a call, I believe draft morning, or a text from PY, asking if I'd like to do an interview today, 2 hours before the draft starts.
Goodness.
And
and they hadn't spoken to you at all before then?
No, I think I might have gotten a text from PY maybe a few weeks before, but I didn't hear from him for a while.
Right.
And then he just popped up on the page, draft day, and I was like, oh, okay. I was definitely ready. I had a couple of interviews under my belt, so you know, I knew how to answer the questions. You know, I knew what questions they were going to ask, and so I was definitely prepared. And yeah, I did not expect them to pick me. I was looking at the TV, and my girlfriend was looking at my phone, and I'm just pacing back and forth. Like the rounds are going by, you know, they're still going by, and she says Montreal just drafted Shudler, and I looked at her and I started screaming, and I was like, "What? Are you serious? Are you serious? They actually chose me after interviewing me this morning?" I was like, okay, let's do it. I was excited.
So they called you 2 hours before the draft.
So I had a Zoom interview with
That's wild.
everybody 2 hours before the draft. Yeah, it was crazy.
So you didn't think Montreal was going to pick you? Did you have a particularly good interview with someone else? Like, did you have a feeling? Did you think you'd stay home in Toronto? Did you think you'd go to Hamilton? Like,
so I thought I would probably get picked up by I had good interviews with Hamilton, Sask, and Calgary. So I thought one of those three were, I was leaning towards one of those three that might pick me, but yeah, Montreal definitely surprised me. Yeah, I was not expecting Montreal.
I mean, man, it's just funny, like how many times, you hear it in the NFL as well, right? Like people are like, man, these guys didn't even talk to me. Like I didn't even interview with these guys, and they end up picking you. You got it. I mean, right at the end there, but I mean, that's still funny timing. That like they obviously had an eye on you all along, and they kept it, low key to the very very end. Were you a combine guy? Like, did you go to? I mean, you went to a regional. I'm assuming. Did you go to a regional?
No, I didn't go to
nothing.
No, not any combines. I wasn't eligible the season before, so I wasn't able to get an invite to a combine.
Right.
Even with my East West the year before. So basically, my numbers at East West pretty much spoke for me, and it's a good thing I tested well there. I put on a show there, so I really had that to back up on in my film. So.
Are you a good tester? Like, are you a guy who, you're an athletic type that pops off there's just some guys that just test ridiculously well. Are you one of those guys?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm a very athletic person. 38 to 40 inch vert.
Goodness.
10 foot broad, 10 to 11 foot broad. So,
all right.
Explosive. I'm pretty athletic for sure.
Yeah, you could definitely see that when you play. I'm curious, like how much. I'm assuming, like I'm assuming you're the best player on every team you played on. How much special teams did you play? Growing up and coming through the ranks, because I mean, it was incredible to watch you go on spot. Like I remember there was a play where you pushed. Was it Kevin Francis that you just grabbed and you just dragged them off the sideline? I mean, it was freaking nuts. There's some of and he's a great special teams player. I'm curious, like how much special teams did you play?
Not much. Most of my career, my football career, I was a returner, punt returner, kick returner, and then high school when I went to Episcopal High School in the States, they put me on kickoff for the first time, and I was looking at everybody like I've never been on kickoff before, or kickoff. They put me on punt and then punt return, and I was like, all right, whatever it is, let's do this. So I started taking kickoff incredibly seriously. Like my first time ever on kickoff, I remember I split two guys and made the tackle on the 10-yard line. And my coach ran up to me. He's like, I didn't know you could do that. I was like, hey man, I just doing my job, coach. He's like, you better do that every time. I was like, okay. So now it's expected that I do this every time on kickoff. So I guess I had some of that to fall back on. I always knew I had that dog in me, played with a lot of dogs growing up, so I'm never gonna back down from anything. Never back down from a challenge. So yeah.
What was your first game last? Like, what was your first career CFL game? Who was it against? I'm trying to remember.
I believe it was Ottawa. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the Ottawa. 15 times we played them.
Yeah, Ottawa in Ottawa, I believe.
Was that the end of September? Was that one, or was it August? Was that the Caleb Evans game that he played, or was it the one after that?
No, it was the one after that.
All right, so the end of September. I'm curious, did you have a welcome to the pros moment? Did somebody clip you in a way? Like, do you have a funny story about that one?
No, I don't. Not yet. I don't really have a welcome to the pros moment.
Nobody got a good piece of you yet?
Nah, not yet.
I like that.
Ain't nobody getting a piece. Ain't nobody getting a piece.
It's better that way.
Yeah.
So if that was your first game, I guess that's a couple of wins into the 8-game winning streak. But you had been around all year. I'm curious, Shed, just looking back to last year, was there a moment where you were like, because at one point, and we were just talking to Keon about this, but at one point, it just, being close to the group, but just still being on the outside, it was like, shoot, like this feels like the team of destiny. Like, I'm just curious, Was there a moment for you where you were like, all right, we might go out there and go on a run, or we might even win the whole thing?
Yeah, I believe it was later into the season. I believe after Sankey had joined the team.
Yeah.
We had already been a pretty not even like a very close team. I feel like a lot of us living in the Evo, the activities coach prepared for us at practice, and like I felt like it felt like I was in college again, with how close and how connected everyone was to each other. So later into the season, I started noticing like we were getting better, like defense was getting better, offense was getting better, our play was getting better. And then coach started giving out the little signs and the little magic woo and giving out little, we're on our we're on a 8-game winning streak. He said in the Grey Cup, and you know what the eighth game is? He's like, that's the cup. So that's everything is. He was just preaching destiny to us. So I started to believe it, and everybody started to believe it. It wasn't just me. Like it was like everyone. It was we believe in ourselves, and we're gonna get it done. Like I remember Eva the night before the Grey Cup, I was sitting with Brock, I believe Tyson, and a bunch of other guys. And I remember Brock sitting there. He's like, I have no fear of losing tomorrow. I have no fear at all. I do not. We are going to win. Like I'm not scared. We're going in there to beat those guys. And I was like, wow. It's like this. Like everyone is on edge. We're relaxed, but we're focused. We're on point. Like there's no way these guys beat us tomorrow.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it started to just grow on me throughout the end of the season. Like we're gonna win this.
I just want to let you know that one of your boys, I think the lights might have gone off here. I don't know what's going on. If we can get somebody to open the lights here, this is weird. Reggie Stubblefield just jumped in the chat, said, my boy Shed. How about Reggie Stubblefield's playoffs, eh? That was unbelievable.
Exactly, yeah. Like I was saying, Reggie was
there we go.
Reggie was my roommate across the hall in the Evo.
Yeah.
So me and Reggie go way back.
Is he a good neighbor? Is he
He's
like
a great
State
neighbor.
Farm?
He's a great neighbor. If I ever need anything, he would always have it.
Like a cup of sugar, like a cup of milk or some sugar,
like
or something
anything, like a plate, a fork. You got he'd always have it. So most clutch neighbor ever.
Yeah.
Shout out Reggie.
He's a decent football player too, Stubblefield, eh?
Oh man, he's a dog.
All right, just want to mention, je veux juste mentionner en français, les George Una, le joueur de ligne à l'attaque, a été repêché par BC et un autre Québécois a été sélectionné, 7e au total. Nathaniel Dumoulin-Duguay, le joueur de ligne à l'attaque de l'Université de Laval, s'en va à Hamilton. Donc, ce qui veut dire qu'on est rendu au 8e choix au total. Et c'est les Blue Bombers de Winnipeg qui vont sélectionner, suivis par les Alouettes de Montréal. So I'm curious, before we get, because I know that you did some content at the Combine, did you not? So I know you know some of these guys that are coming out, but I'm curious, Grey Cup morning, Grey Cup day, I'm just curious, are you the nervous type? You don't strike me as the nervous type. But did you have butterflies? Like, what was that day like for you?
Grey Cup day it made it even better that I was in Hamilton. I live 15 minutes away from the stadium.
Okay.
So I was home.
Did you sleep at home? You were home?
Yeah, I slept in my bed.
That's cool.
I woke up like a regular day at home and just went throughout everything just as a regular day. It was very calm. I wasn't as nervous as I thought it would be. It was just having the guys, knowing I had those guys that to have my back, I felt, as confident and strong as possible. Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's look at some of the some of the guys that I don't know if there's guys you've played with, if there's guys that you've worked out with. I'm just curious. I mean, you're like you said, you're 15 minutes from Hamilton. You're from Scarborough, right? So I mean, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in that area. I'm curious, like, who are some of the guys that you've got eyes on or you've seen work out that kind of stood out to you in this draft so far?
One is from my East-West year. I believe it was in 2023. There's a Montreal guy, actually, Kalen St-Cyr.
Yeah, the Montreal DB, the University of Montreal.
Yeah, he really wowed me at our East-West year. He stood out from day one. He was one of the first people I met when I got to the dorms, and he was real cool. Already studying his playbook, but he just showed out. Like, he showed me how smart of a football player he was. He learned very quickly, and he impressed me a lot. I made sure to kind of stay away from him at East West. Another DB, Emmanuel Beals from Acadia, a guy I grew up with from Scarborough.
Of course, you have to get your AUS guys in, eh?
Of course, gotta represent. But Emmanuel, great DB. I have played with since, I believe, the 10th or 9th grade, or even further, maybe 7th grade. But he's always been a smart player, always been very athletic, strong DB. So very impressive guy coming out the draft this year. Another one I trained with this past offseason, I just met him, Richard Dubafor, out of Western, another DB.
What do you only work out with DBs? What's going on here?
I don't want the receivers stealing my my moves and stuff, but so I got to make sure I got DBs around me. Get different looks, tall, skinny, short, whatever. But Richard Dubafor, out of Western, he's a 6'2" DB, lanky, but can move very well, and soaks up a lot of knowledge. He soaked up a lot of knowledge going into his combine. So very impressed with him.
We do have a trade. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are on the clock, which means the Alouettes go next. Winnipeg trades the 8th pick to Calgary for 13 and 14. So Calgary gets 8 and 28, and Winnipeg gets 13-14. Calgary had 2 picks in the second round. So clearly, Calgary trying to get in front of Montreal for something here. All right, Chad, we appreciate the time. I'll leave you with this because I asked Kayon. I'm going to leave you with the same question. You guys start at the goal line, 10-yard dash. You, Kayon, and Philpott. Who's getting there first?
I'm gonna be honest. Shedler Fergie is gonna win that race every single time.
Who's coming in second?
I'm gonna give it to Kayon. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give it to Kayon.
Okay, and 40-yard dash. Are you changing your results at all?
40-yard dash. I might give it to Kayon. Maybe by a millisecond.
Who finishes second?
Yeah,
you can bury Philpott. It's fine.
I'm sorry. I'm having to do my boy Tyson like that. Tyson has some jets. I'm not gonna hold that against my boy.
We've seen it. I know.
But them Scarborough boys, you know what I'm saying? We can move. I'm just gonna put it like that.
Hey, Shed, we appreciate the time, man. You're a good sport. Thanks for the insight into the draft. Thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself, and we look forward to seeing you in training camp in a couple weeks, buddy.
Look forward to seeing you guys too.
All right, Shedler Fervius, nice enough to join us here on the Draft Show. Donc, c'est sûr qu'on a fait beaucoup d'entrevues en anglais. Je veux juste remercier tout le monde pour... on est en grand nombre là, sur ce direct. On l'a mentionné en anglais. C'est les Blue Bombers qui étaient supposés repêcher 8e. Ils ont fait un échange avec les Stampeders de Calgary. Les Stampeders avaient 2 choix de 2e ronde. 13 et 14, et les Stampeders ont avancé au 8e choix. Les Alouettes sont les prochains, et les Stampeders ont choisi Christy Nkanu, un autre Montréalais, joueur de ligne à l'attaque de Washington State. Donc, un autre joueur de ligne à l'attaque. Ça en fait 3 de suite, si je ne me trompe pas, avec Dumoulin, Duguay, Ouna et Nkanu. Donc, les Alouettes c'est aux Alouettes de repêcher. Donc, je vous rappelle que chaque équipe a 5 minutes pour faire son choix. Donc, d'ici 5 minutes, on va savoir le choix des Alouettes de Montréal. Mais c'est un autre Montréalais. C'est plusieurs Québécois qui ont été repêchés en première ronde avec Mittal, Labrosse, Dumoulin, Duguay et maintenant Nkanu. Mais c'est un joueur de ligne à l'attaque. Donc, c'est sûr que on a parlé de ligne à l'attaque, on a parlé de ces joueurs-là. Et c'est sûr que c'était peut-être un besoin pour les Alouettes. On va parler au directeur général adjoint, Pierre-Yves Lavergne va se joindre à nous. Là, c'est sûr, écoute, si on regarde en tant que joueurs québécois qui sont encore là, qui pourraient être encore disponibles en ce moment, Mittal a été choisi, Labrosse, Dumoulin, Duguay. Il y a Kevin Sclercius, qui est un receveur de passe de l'Université de Connecticut, qui est encore là. Il y a le secondaire intérieur, Jeffrey Quentin Arcou, un autre Montréalais qui a commencé sa carrière universitaire à l'Université de Syracuse. Il a terminé sa carrière à Memphis. C'est 2 très bons joueurs. C'est des gars locaux. On sait que pour Danny Machocha, avec Danny Machocha, il dit à talent égal, on ira toujours avec le joueur québécois. Donc, j'ai hâte de voir, est-ce que ça va être un joueur québécois? Est-ce que ça va être un autre joueur? Il y a plusieurs joueurs. Dans le cas de on a parlé de qui? On a parlé de Clercius. Clercius, il n'y a pas de contrat dans la NFL, pas d'invitation à un mini-camp de la NFL non plus. Dans le cas de Quentin Arcou, il y a un rookie minicamp et une invitation au camp recrue des Dolphins de Miami. Donc, ça arrive tout le temps. Pour vous donner un exemple, l'an passé, Lowell Uguak a été repêché par les Alouettes, 7e au total. En fin de compte, il est venu, je pense, une semaine ou 3-4 jours en retard au camp d'entraînement parce qu'il était au camp des Falcons d'Atlanta, au mini-camp. C'était une invitation. C'est pas un contrat, c'est une invitation. Donc, si les Alouettes veulent repêcher un Québécois, il y a 2 très bons Québécois. Jeffrey Quentin Arcou, les stats, je l'ai mentionné. Je vais aller juste chercher des statistiques pour Quentin Arcou. Parce que c'était un partant à l'université. Il y avait des matchs. Il y avait un match l'an passé où il y avait 12 plaqués. C'est vraiment un gars qui a été productif. L'an passé, 79 plaqués pour Quentin Arcou. Un sac du corps. Un échappé provoqué. Donc, il y a plusieurs facteurs. Aussi, si on regarde la défensive de Northrop, il y a d'habitude, c'est 3 joueurs de ligne défensive, 4 secondaires. Les Alouettes ont Tyrell Richards qui pourrait être un secondaire intérieur partant cette année à côté de Darnell Sankey. Et c'est un gars qui peut... c'est un gars qui peut jouer comme secondaire. Je pense vraiment qu'il a un beau potentiel. Mais même chose pour Kevin Sclercius. On a parlé à 2 gars, 2 receveurs ce soir en Keon Julian Grant et Chandler Furvies. Il y a Régis Sibazou, Tyson Philpott aussi. Mais les Alouettes pourraient facilement repêcher un receveur, comme j'avais mentionné. T'as jamais, quand tu as 2 receveurs partant dans un repêchage ou dans ton aliment partant, c'est sûr que dans le repêchage, tu peux aller chercher un autre pour ajouter de la profondeur en cas de blessure ou quoi que ce soit. Donc, on va parler à Pierre-Yves Lavergne très, très, très bientôt. Et aussitôt que le choix est fait, on va parler au directeur général adjoint à Danny Machocha, Pierre-Yves Laverne, et on va essayer de parler aux joueurs repêchés. Si je regarde le mock draft de Marshall Ferguson sur CFL.ca. Si je ne me trompe pas, 9e, il y avait Nathaniel Dumoulin-Duguay. Donc ça, évidemment, ça ne sera pas possible parce que lui a été repêché par les Tiger Cats de Hamilton, 7e au total. Mais si on regarde, il y a une couple de joueurs de ligne à l'attaque aussi. Gabe Wallace de l'Université de Buffalo est encore là, disponible. Lui, dans le mock draft à Marshall Ferguson, il l'avait 3e au Rough Riders de la Saskatchewan. Alors, OK, Randy Ambrosie, c'est parti. Les Alouettes vont sélectionner. Et oui, c'est un Québécois, le secondaire Jeffrey Quentin Arcou s'en vient à Montréal de l'Université de Memphis. 79 plaqués, 1 sac, 2 échappées provoquées, une interception l'an passé. 260 plaqués, 7 sacs et demi, 4 échappées provoquées lors de sa carrière au complet universitaire. Je ne vous cacherai pas, c'est un jeune de Lévis, Québec. Je ne vous cacherai pas, moi, sincèrement, je ne pensais pas que ce joueur-là allait être disponible au 9e rang. Je suis un peu surpris qu'il est là, mais évidemment, les Alouettes vont ajouter un autre Québécois avec Jeffrey Quentin Arcou. Et on va parler à Pierre-Yves Lavergne dans quelques secondes. Il va se connecter à nous. J'ai la confirmation que PY arrive dans une couple de secondes. On va faire notre possible pour parler à Jeffrey, par Jeffrey Quentin Arcou bientôt, mais on veut parler à un des personnes qui a pris la décision. Mais comme je mentionnais avant, c'est un choix qui a du sens aussi. Je sais que c'est pas un choix, c'est pas peut-être dans les besoins, mais si on regarde cette année, la défensive de Northrop, souvent, on joue à 4 secondaires. L'an passé, tu avais Avery Williams et tu avais Darnell Sankey en fin d'année. Donc, 2 secondaires intérieurs, c'est sûr que Avery Williams n'est pas de retour. Donc, il y a un potentiel que ça soit Tyrell Richards à côté de Darnell Sankey cette année. Donc, si c'est le cas, avoir de la profondeur à cette position-là, c'est important. Et écoute, s'il connaît un bon camp d'entraînement, c'est très possible que Quentin Arcou pourrait être partant pour les Alouettes cette année. Mais moi, de ce que je vois, de ce qu'on voit sur la bande vidéo, c'est un gars qui pourrait aider sur les unités spéciales au minimum tout de suite. C'est un gars qui a joué à Memphis, université américain, donc c'est sûr qu'il ne peut pas retourner à l'école. Des fois, avec les jeunes Canadiens, on a le droit de les retourner à l'école. Donc, Quentin Arcou, c'est sûr et certain qu'il va faire partie de l'alignement des Alouettes cette année. Donc, écoute, grosse sélection. Là, c'est sûr qu'il va falloir attendre un tout petit peu, juste parce que les Alouettes, pour le moment, à moins d'un échange, les Alouettes n'ont pas de choix en 2e ronde. On l'a mentionné avant. Mais c'est un choix qui appartient maintenant, c'est le 18e choix au total, qui appartient aux Elks dans l'échange de Jesse Gibbon, joueur de ligne à l'attaque qui est encore avec les Alouettes, qui vient de signer un nouveau contrat pendant la saison morte avec les Alouettes. Donc, on attend le directeur général adjoint des Alouettes, Pierre-Yves Lavergne, et on me dit que PY est là. Est-ce qu'on a Pierre-Yves? Oui, Pierre-Yves, comment ça va?
Ça va très bien, toi?
Ça va dangereusement bien. Ça de même. Juste parle-moi un peu du joueur. Je sais que les partisans sont toujours fiers quand c'est un Québécois qui est repêché par les Alouettes, mais je sais pour vous autres, à talent égal, vous allez avec le Québécois, mais c'est un joueur très talentueux. On vient de voir ses stats à l'université. C'est un joueur très productif. Qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire sur le secondaire Jeffrey Quentin-Arcou?
Écoute, Jeffrey, c'est un peu dans le même prototype que Tyler Richards qu'on a repêché premier au total il y a quelques années. Là. C'est vraiment quelqu'un avec des attributs physiques uniques. Là. C'est vraiment d'habitude, on ne voit pas ça souvent des secondaires canadiens de 6 pieds 3, 230 livres qui sont autant mobiles. Donc, à ce moment-là, on sait qu'il va être capable de nous aider tant en défensive que ses unités spéciales. On parle vraiment d'un joueur de football complet là, pour nous, là, bien au-delà d'un joueur québécois. C'est un plus pour nous. On est vraiment content de pouvoir ajouter un gars d'ici qui va représenter nos valeurs, mais avant tout, c'est un excellent joueur de football.
C'est sûr que j'imagine que vous avez fait au moins une entrevue avec lui. Qu'est-ce que tu as appris de lui pendant le processus d'évaluation?
Écoute, toutes les personnes à qui on a parlé étaient unanimes. Là. Tout le monde avait juste des bonnes choses à dire sur lui, tant à l'Université Syracuse, il a été avant à l'Université Memphis et à l'Université Memphis. C'est un joueur qui a des objectifs et qui va tout faire pour les accomplir. Il n'a pas eu peur de parier sur lui puis de quitter son Québec natal pour aller jouer aux États-Unis puis poursuivre son rêve puis exceller à un très haut niveau, ce qui est très, très impressionnant. Donc maintenant, en plus, il y a un essai dans la NFL là, avec les Dolphins de Miami. Puis si jamais on vient à bout de l'avoir, soit en 2000, on souhaite que ce soit en 2024, là, du moment qu'il va se présenter avec nous, là, on pense que c'est quelqu'un qui va vraiment, vraiment nous aider là, dès cette année.
C'est quoi son potentiel? T'sais, pas juste cette année, mais à long terme, comment tu vois ce joueur-là?
Écoute, c'est sûr qu'il va y avoir une période d'adaptation. Il va falloir que ça s'ajuste à la Ligue canadienne et au football à 3 essais. Mais en bout de ligne, c'est un naturel. C'est vraiment un joueur défensif avec beaucoup d'instinct, beaucoup de fluidité et beaucoup de mobilité. Donc, on pense qu'éventuellement, il va pouvoir nous aider en défensive, là, pas juste sur les unités spéciales. Là, ça va être vraiment un rouage important de notre défense. Ça va donner beaucoup de flexibilité au niveau de notre ratio canadien.
C'est une question un peu. Est-ce que tu t'attendais qu'il soit là? Parce que si on regarde les mock drafts pour ce que ça vaut, tout le monde l'avait, tout le monde pensait qu'il allait partir un peu plus tôt. Même le dernier mock draft de CFL.ca, Marshall Ferguson l'avait premier au total.
Écoute, ça dit à quel point les observateurs ils l'avaient en haute estime. C'est sûr que peut-être son essai avec les Dolphins de Miami a refroidi certaines équipes, mais en bout de ligne, nous, on était dans une position qu'on fait se permettre d'attendre quelques semaines avant d'avoir une réponse. Puis on a été assez chanceux qui est tombé jusqu'à nous au 9e choix au total.
Y a-tu, à ton avis, je te demanderai pas qui t'a surpris, mais y a-tu quelque chose qui t'a surpris un peu? Peut-être pas un choix en particulier, mais y avait-tu un trend en première ronde qui t'a surpris un peu?
Écoute, je pense que la plupart des équipes ont vraiment trouvé une façon de combler les brèches à court terme de leur équipe. Là. C'est vraiment, chaque équipe a vraiment respecté la logique qu'on pensait qu'il était pour poursuivre. Fait que c'est d'un point de vue externe, je trouve que c'est une première ronde qui fait beaucoup de sens. Il y a beaucoup de bons joueurs talentueux qui sont sortis. Il n'y a pas vraiment de grandes surprises. Je pense que ça parle aussi de la qualité du repêchage de cette année.
Qu'est-ce qu'on fait en deuxième ronde quand on n'a pas de choix?
Ah, ben ça, tu ne demandes pas ça à la bonne personne. Il va falloir que tu demandes ça à Danny.
Non, mais qu'est-ce que tu fais? Là, on est en discussion. C'est quoi le plan de match en deuxième ronde? Est-ce que vous suivez le draft juste comme moi dans mon pool de hockey, j'enlève des noms puis qui se font repêcher puis j'attends mon tour? Comment ça fonctionne?
Écoute, je pense qu'on ne ferait pas notre travail si on n'essayait pas d'améliorer le sort de l'organisation. Puis je peux dire que Danny travaille le téléphone pas mal fort en ce moment pour voir si même il y a une possibilité de remonter dans le repêchage. Si ça se passe, ça se concrétise, tant mieux. Sinon, on va juste suivre l'ordre du repêchage puis y aller avec les meilleurs joueurs qu'on peut.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup, PY. Et bon repêchage.
Merci beaucoup.
All right. C'est Pierre-Yves Lavergne qui est assez gentil pour nous donner un peu de temps. On s'en va voir la réaction des partisans des Alouettes avec ce choix-là de Jeffrey Quentin-Arcou. Chantal Morin qui dit « Yes! » Contente. Daniel Dubé qui nous dit « Bienvenue, Jeffrey Quentin. » André est content. Lisa est contente aussi. Bienvenue dans le nid. Claude Vallée est content. Good pick avec le thumbs up. Pistol Phil. I never heard Pistol Phil. I always thought it was Pistol Pete. WP qui est content aussi. L'élite du sport qui nous écrit pour nous dire le meilleur joueur défensif du draft, tout un vol. Bon choix selon Christian Bolduc. Et In Danny We Trust, Carl Anderton, my buddy out down south. Hashtag Go House Go. Lucille Beauregard, excellent choix. Bienvenue, Jeffrey, à Montréal. Donc, encore une fois, c'est un Montréalais. Liam is excited. Let's go. 9e au total. Et là, on a le début de la deuxième ronde. On va continuer pour une couple de minutes. On va essayer d'attendre juste, on veut essayer de parler à Jeffrey Arcou, Kanté Arcou. On essaie juste de connecter avec le joueur. Donnez-moi une seconde. Mais oui, tu sais, Marie-Claude Rivard, j'ai hâte de le voir dans le nid. Donc, tu sais, c'est tout un joueur de football. Comme je vous dis, si vous regardez, tu sais, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour Marshall Ferguson, qui est un analyste à TSN en ce moment. Il est sur le panel du repêchage. Il est parmi les experts sur TSN en ce moment. Et lui, dans son dernier mock draft la semaine passée, il avait Jeffrey Kanté Arcou comme le tout premier choix du repêchage. Donc, le fait que les Alouettes, Pierre-Yves l'a mentionné, peut-être le fait qu'il y a une invitation au mini-camp recrue des Dolphins de Miami, ça a repoussé les choses. Mais les experts pensaient vraiment qu'il n'y avait aucune chance qu'il soit là 9e au total. Donc, le fait qu'on repêche un Québécois, c'est très important, évidemment, mais le fait qu'on repêche un autre bon joueur. Et si tu regardes, on a parlé de ça avec Danny un tout petit peu, mais si on regarde le repêchage, depuis que Danny Machocha est là, tu regardes en 2020, les Alouettes en deuxième ronde ont choisi Marc-Antoine Dequoy. Je n'ai pas à vous dire comment Marc-Antoine Dequoy a eu un impact sur la conquête de la Coupe Grey des Alouettes. En 2020, ils ont repêché plusieurs bons joueurs, dont 2021, excuse-moi, P.O. Lestage. Donc, P.O. Lestage avait signé un contrat avec les Seahawks de Seattle. Ils ont attendu un bon petit bout avant de l'avoir, mais il est là et c'est parmi les meilleurs gardes et joueurs de ligne à l'attaque dans la Ligue canadienne de football. Je sais qu'il a été blessé en série, mais on se le cachera pas, là, c'est une grosse partie de l'attaque pendant la saison régulière l'an passé. Écoute, en deuxième moitié de saison, la ligne à l'attaque était très, très bonne. Et P.O. Lestage est une des grosses raisons pour ça. En 2022, 2 choix de première ronde. Tyrell Richards, tout un potentiel. Je sais qu'il a été blessé les 2 dernières années, mais quand même, c'est un joueur qui a réussi des très beaux jeux. C'est un gars qui est extrêmement utile sur les unités spéciales et un gars qui a un gros potentiel. En défensive. Je pense qu'on le voit. Là. Il était partant à Winnipeg fin août l'an passé, puis première séquence à l'attaque, beau interception contre Zach Collaros, et il a marqué un touché sur le jeu. Fin de la première ronde, les Alouettes ont repêché Tyson Philpott. Je n'ai pas à vous expliquer l'importance de Tyson Philpott. C'est lui qui a capté le touché gagnant à la Coupe Grey en 2023. L'an passé, les Alouettes ont pris Jonathan Sutherland, qui on n'a pas vu encore, secondaire, extérieur, il est maintenant avec les Seahawks de Seattle. Donc, on ne l'a pas vu encore, mais les Alouettes ont repêché Luol Ugwak, 7e au total. Ugwak est devenu partant en deuxième moitié de saison et écoute, en séries éliminatoires, c'est une bête, là. Tout le monde se souvient du gros plaqué qui a changé l'allure du match contre Winnipeg, contre Brady Oliveira. Là, écoute, Ugwak a connu une deuxième moitié de saison exceptionnelle et là, il est rendu dans la NFL avec les Buccaneers de Tampa Bay. Donc, pour ceux qui disent le repêchage canadien, c'est rempli de gars qui vont seulement jouer sur les unités spéciales. Premièrement, les unités spéciales sont très importantes dans la Ligue canadienne de football. Deuxièmement, c'est pas vrai parce que regarde, sous l'ordre de Danny Machocha, les Alouettes ont ont connu des repêchages incroyables. Et on n'a même pas mentionné un David, l'an passé, les 2 premiers choix, mais ils ont repêché David Dallaire, le centre arrière de l'Université de Laval, qui était incroyable sur les unités spéciales. Il a joué dans tous les matchs l'an passé. Il a joué dans la Coupe Grey aussi. Donc, c'est tout un autre repêchage pour les Alouettes. Quand tu regardes le talent qu'ils ont trouvé lors des repêchages. On ne peut pas dire, sans succès au repêchage, c'est impossible que les Alouettes gagnent la Coupe Grey. Danny l'a mentionné avant, il faut habiller 21 joueurs canadiens, 21 joueurs canadiens, 20 Américains, 3 quarts arrière, puis 1 joueur mondial. Donc, 21 joueurs canadiens, dont plusieurs Québécois. Écoute, selon moi, la profondeur, c'est sûr que Cody Fajardo a vraiment bien joué et c'est sûr que la défensive était excellente lors de la conquête de la Coupe Grey et tout au long des séries éliminatoires. Mais sans la profondeur canadienne, je vous dis tout de suite, les Alouettes ne gagnent pas la Coupe Grey l'an passé. Le succès qu'ils ont eu, c'est vraiment grâce à eux autres. Donc, on va continuer à prendre vos questions, mais on me dit que Jeffrey Quentin Arcou est là. On va se connecter. Jeffrey!
Salut, mon ami.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien, toi?
Ça va très, très bien. Et si je me fie aux commentaires, le monde sont très, 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 très contents que tu deviens membre des Alouettes. Juste parle-moi de ton expérience. T'es où? T'écoutes le draft, j'imagine. Puis est-ce que c'était vraiment Montréal que tu souhaitais venir ici ou tu voulais être repêché le plus haut possible? Comment tu as vécu ces moments-là?
Non, c'est sûr. Moi, si j'avais un objectif de jouer au football à la maison, c'était vraiment Montréal. Tu comprends? Ma famille vient de Québec. Je suis ici là, avec ma mère, puis ma famille, mon ancien coach. Puis on est très contents du résultat.
Est-ce que tu as vu l'annonce à la télé avant ou est-ce que tu as eu l'appel avant?
J'ai eu l'appel, j'ai eu la chance de parler avec le GM, là, Danny Machocha. Puis après ça, la télé était déjà ouverte. Là, alors, c'était très le fun d'avoir mon nom là, appelé là, au 9e rang.
C'était quoi, la réaction de ta famille? C'était quoi ce moment-là?
C'est sûr que c'est spécial. J'ai grandi à Québec, puis de voir les Alouettes m'appeler, comme je te dis, en première ronde, ça veut dire beaucoup pour moi. Là.
J'ai lu, tu avais écrit un article pour le site de Memphis il y a une année ou deux de ça. Peux-tu me parler de ton parcours un petit peu? Parce que dans cet article-là, tu avais écrit que tu as commencé en tant que joueur de hockey, mais tu as fait la transition au football. Puis je me trompe peut-être, Jeff, mais je pense que tu as fait le bon choix. Juste, peux-tu me parler un peu de ton parcours puis comment tu es rendu ici avec les Alouettes aujourd'hui?
Oui, j'ai commencé à jouer au hockey là, à très jeune âge. Mais comme je te dis, le hockey, c'est très cher au Québec. Moi, je viens d'une famille monoparentale avec ma mère. Puis j'ai 2 grands frères, une petite sœur. Fait que c'est devenu trop cher. Puis là, c'est là que j'ai rencontré mon premier coach, Coach Chris, qui m'a fait commencer le football. Puis j'ai jamais arrêté. Là, puis vraiment, le football m'a vraiment tout appris dans la vie. Puis je suis très grateful là, de l'opportunité, de toutes les opportunités que ça a mis sur mon chemin.
Tu as connu vraiment un gros début de carrière à Syracuse. On a parlé de tes statistiques à Memphis l'an passé. Écoute, c'est toute une saison. Juste quel type de secondaire? Comment décrirais-tu ton style?
Je pense que je suis un bon linebacker overall. Je suis capable de couvrir la passe, puis aussi tu comprends, de réagir à la course. En tant que linebacker aujourd'hui, avec les receveurs qui viennent de plus en plus vite, c'est très important là, de pouvoir aider les débits dans la passe, mais
désolé, Jeff, on t'entend plus. On a mauvaise connexion. Je pense qu'on a perdu. Est-ce qu'on a mis Jeff sur mute?
je t'ai pas excusé.
Oui, excuse, peux-tu juste répéter ta dernière réponse? On a perdu connexion pour une seconde.
Oui, je pense que ma force, c'est que je peux couvrir la passe vraiment, puis tu comprends, réagir très rapidement à la course, puis vraiment d'être capable de faire des jeux sideline to sideline, all over the field. Je pense que vraiment, aussi mon habileté d'être capable de leader mon équipe puis mes teammates. Tu sais, je suis un très bon teammate, un gars très humain, puis ça aussi, c'est important dans un locker room.
Tu connais-tu certains joueurs qui sont déjà ici? J'imagine que tu as croisé une couple de joueurs. As-tu des amis dans l'équipe?
Oui, j'ai mon ami Tyra Richard.
Oui. OK, à Syracuse. Vous étiez ensemble à Syracuse.
Exactement, oui. En fait, c'est lui qui m'a parrainé là, durant ma première année à Syracuse. Moi puis Tyra, on est très proches, là, puis je suis content là, de savoir qu'il est à Montréal.
Comment est-ce que vous êtes différent en tant que linebacker? Et puis, est-ce qu'il y a des similarités à votre jeu?
Oui, on est très similaires, mais honnêtement, on est très joueurs aussi totalement différents. Tyra aussi, c'est un gars qui est grand, qui a un bon gabarit, puis qui est capable de faire des jeux partout sur le terrain. C'est sûr que Tyrell, je pense que en tant que Will linebacker ou Sam linebacker, il y a quelque chose qui est capable d'apporter à la game qui est très spécial. Moi, tant qu'à moi, dans le milieu, en tant que middle linebacker, je pense que c'est vraiment là ma place.
Et je veux juste souligner le commentaire d'un partisan, Claude Vallée. Puis ça, c'est les partisans des Alouettes tout crachés. Tout le monde est excité, tout le monde veut te voir sur le terrain, mais ils te souhaitent bonne chance avec le tryout avec les Dolphins. C'est sûr, Jeff, on veut te voir à Montréal, mais tout le monde est derrière toi avec ton essai avec les Dolphins. Qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire là-dessus? Comment tu as vécu le repêchage de la Ligue nationale de football et c'est quoi tes attentes dans ton cas avec les Dolphins? Oh, on a perdu Jeff encore. OK. Ben, s'il est là, on va le faire rembarquer. Mais sinon, il a été assez généreux avec son temps.
Monsieur, excuse-moi, tout le monde m'appelle, là, puis ça fait bugger le live.
Oui, excuse. Je voulais juste souligner le commentaire de Claude. Tout le monde veut te voir ici, Jeff, c'est sûr, mais tout le monde est derrière toi. Tout le monde espère te voir dans la NFL aussi. Qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire sur ton essai avec les Dolphins?
C'est sûr que vraiment, la NFL, c'est mon rêve de jeunesse. Je pense que tous les Québécois rêvent d'être dans la grosse ligue. Rien enlevé aux Alouettes ou à la CFL. Quand j'avais 10 ans, j'ai marqué sur un papier que j'allais soit jouer dans la NFL ou j'allais jouer pour les Alouettes de Montréal. Fait que là, je suis un gars comblé en ce moment. C'est sûr que la NFL étant la NFL, Miami étant Miami, je vais tout donner pour avoir ma place sur le roster. Puis aussi, tu comprends, représenter Québec parce que je pense que c'est important. On manque un peu de représentation. On manque un peu de représentation dans les grosses ligues. Puis vraiment, là, je pense que je vais représenter Québec, puis j'espère vous rendre fiers. Là.
Absolument. Merci. Je vais te laisser. Je sais que le téléphone
désolé aussi, là. Écoute, tout le monde est excité pour moi, mais vraiment, au plaisir de vous reparler aussi. Merci à tous les fans là, qui nous suivent, puis merci beaucoup. Là.
Merci, Jeff. Félicitations. Bonne chance à Miami, OK?
Merci, salut. Là.
All right, Jeffrey. Quentin Arcou qui est avec nous. Le téléphone sonne, c'est sûr. Donc, Jean-Sébastien qui a écrit gros pic, très heureux. Pas seulement un produit du Québec, mais un sleeper pick. Bienvenue à Montréal. Bonne chance à Miami aussi. Reggie Stubblefield's in there. Congratulations. Another linebacker to play next to Reggie Stubblefield at Sam linebacker. What's up, Reg? Look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Donc, c'est tout pour ce soir. On a fait presque 2 heures en direct. Je vous rappelle que les billets individuels pour la saison 2024 sont en vente lundi prochain. Right, Pépé? Écris-moi lundi prochain. Confirme-moi que c'est lundi prochain. Si je ne me trompe pas, c'est lundi prochain. Aussi, j'aimerais souligner que la nouvelle collection à la boutique, la collection Sideline, sort soit demain, soit un peu plus tard cette semaine de ce qu'on me dit. Donc, la nouvelle, j'ai vu des cotons ouatés, je l'ai mentionné en podcast, mais il y a le mini-casque Alouette. Ça faisait longtemps qu'on n'avait pas eu des mini-casques avec le nouveau casque des Alouettes. Ça va être disponible aussi. Mais on a une nouvelle casquette, T-shirt, polo, coton ouaté, bobette. Non, c'est pas vrai. Mais non, on a plusieurs nouveaux items qui vont être sur le site, soit en fin de journée demain, mais c'est sûr que ça va être là cette semaine et c'est sûr avant le camp d'entraînement. Donc, merci beaucoup tout le monde. Écoute, c'est des chiffres en direct qu'on n'a jamais vus sur une émission live. Écoute, on a quasiment franchi les 1000 personnes en direct. Donc, on est à plus de 1000. Donc, merci beaucoup pour le support. On sent vraiment l'amour et le support pour les Alouettes. C'est sûr que le championnat a fait du bien, mais vraiment, merci à vous autres pour tout le support. Je vous rappelle qu'au camp d'entraînement, il va y avoir plein de couvertures. On va avoir couverture pour la cérémonie de la bague qui s'en vient bientôt, juste avant le camp d'entraînement. Donc, il y a plein de contenu qui s'en vient côté Alouette. Donc, j'aimerais juste remercier tout le monde. Il y a tellement de commentaires. On n'a pas été capable de lire tous les commentaires, mais je veux juste remercier tout le monde. Just want to say thank you to everybody. I mean, the support that we got here tonight for our football team is unreal. Thank you. Really feel the love, especially since, all of last season and since winning the Grey Cup. It's been awesome. And just want to mention, we mentioned it in French. Tickets for individual tickets go on sale as of Monday for this upcoming season. Make sure you're there because pre-sale already began and a ton of tickets went already. So if you want to come watch the Grey Cup champs play, make sure you log on right away on Monday to get your tickets. Also, the new sideline collection at the team store at the boutique will be available. I'm told it's as of tomorrow, but potentially tomorrow, but for sure this week. New hoodies, new polos, caps, t-shirts, pants, the whole bit. Also, I know there's a lot of people who've been asking for the mini helmet with the new helmet. But yes, that I can confirm with you. I held it in my hands. I saw it. It is there. Don't forget the Grey Cup collection is still available. If you, for some reason, you don't have your Grey Cup hat yet, make sure that you pick it up because they are going fast and you want to make sure that you get it before it's too late. So just a reminder before we go, the Alouettes have no pick in the second round, but they will be drafting in every other round after that. So third round, fourth round, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, 29, 38, 47, 56, 65, and 74th overall. Still plenty of great players that are available here to be chosen. So you'll have to be patient for now. Maybe Danny Machocha makes a trade or two as we go. But if the Alouettes stand pat, they will have an opportunity to select a really good player at 29th overall. And you should be fired up. I know we spoke to him in French, but I did not expect Jeffrey Quentin Arcou to be available at 9th overall. I really, really didn't. I mentioned it in French, but Marshall Ferguson in his latest mock draft had Quentin Arcou going 1st overall to the Edmonton Elks. I didn't think he'd be there at 9. Thankful that he fell to 9. Maybe the minicamp rookie invite with the Miami Dolphins was what scared people off. But absolutely incredible value for the Montreal Alouettes, standing pat at number 9 and landing a heck of a linebacker. Before we spoke to him, we said, him and Tyrell Richards may be competing. I didn't even put together that they were together at Syracuse and that they were best friends. They're very tight. So 2 inside linebackers, 2 studs. 2 stud Canadians for the Alouettes. So Jeffrey Quentin Arcou is a Montreal Alouette. Thank you again, everybody. Really appreciate the love and support that you've given this football team and myself over the last few months. And training camp begins in Saint-Jérôme on May the 12th is the first practice. Every practice is open to the public. So make sure you check out the schedule. That'll come out eventually in the next little while here on the Montreal Alouettes website. But every practice is open to the public. So no excuse. Saint-Jérôme isn't that far from Montreal. So come out there. I know there's a lot of people that came and said hi to me and the players last year. I'm happy to talk football with each and every person that comes. So please make your way to Saint-Jérôme and give these guys some love and support because they're the defending Grey Cup champions and they deserve it. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Bonne soirée et bon reste du repêchage. Merci et bonne nuit.